Welcome to Undiet Your Coaching Practice podcast. I'm Stephanie Dozier, clinical nutritionist, certified intuitive eating counselor, and creator of the Going to Beyond the Food method. And after a 25-year dieting career, I decided to say hell no to diet culture and undiet my life, which also included my coaching practice. I'm on a mission to help all coaches undiet not only their life, but their coaching business. If you want to throw down diet culture, you're in the right place. Ready, sisters? Let's do this. Hello, my sister and my dear colleague. Welcome back in. Today, we're going to talk about the business aspect of a non-diet health practice. So how do we go from having personally experienced intuitive eating and body image and professionally trained into this field and then creating a business out of this? And I know the thought of starting an intuitive eating business, a non-diet business, can be scary and overwhelming. Even for those who currently have a health business and want to transition their health practice to a non-diet business, it's frightening. I was there. I know how it feels, and I'm here for you. And that's the purpose of this episode today, is to help you change these fear-based thought into love-based thought that can be empowering you to moving forward, either starting or transitioning the business. And a lot of these fear-based thoughts are coming from a place of lack, right? A fear of not having an income anymore, right? And I know I've worked with a lot of you that the thought process goes as follows. But Stephanie, if I'm not creating complex protocols for my client, why would they pay me? How can I make money if I'm not selling meal plan, diet program, detoxes, and clans? What are my clients going to purchase from me? So let's tackle these questions and give you a framework for you to think about what your new business or your transition business could look like. So here's what we're going to cover. What is the business of intuitive eating? What does an intuitive eating coach do? The concept of serving versus selling in a non-diet business model. Who do we serve? The first step, the most important step to starting your intuitive eating business. Why non-diet business coaching is different, and what is a mentorship. So let's do this. So the first question I want to answer is, what is exactly an intuitive eating business? An intuitive eating business is when you exchange money in order to support someone with intuitive eating. Now, this support can come in many different ways. You can be teaching them intuitive eating framework, the 10 principle. You could be coaching their learning or their progress as an intuitive eater. You could be supporting them emotionally, mentally, spiritually, and physically in their intuitive eating journey. You could be the inspiration, the motivator for them to continue to move forward as they struggle, because we know that's part of the journey. You could be someone that could be answering their question, and you could be also creating products that will support people who want to become an intuitive eater. Now, an intuitive eating business is not formulated in a typical health business framework, and it does not hold the same value system, considering that most health businesses are created to support diet culture ideology. The most prevalent difference in a diet culture-free business resides in the approach to healing. An intuitive eating business is anchored in a bottom-up approach versus a top-down approach. Your goal as an intuitive eating expert is to empower your client or patient to become their own expert at their body. In the opposite, a diet culture entrenched business will see the practitioner as the expert, and you will be paid to tell your client and your patient what to do and how to engage with their body in a very disempowering way. An intuitive eating business is based in self-compassion, trust, respect, and the empowerment of the individual innate body wisdom and the ability to heal themselves. So as of today in 2020, the most frequent intuitive eating business model is the coaching model, where you exchange money in giving service to your client or your patient because of the model of bottom-up approach. So the next question then is, what does an intuitive eating coach does, right? And this is where I'm going to repeat again, because I think this is fundamental for everyone to understand. You are not healing your client or your patient. They heal themselves. That's one of the foundation of intuitive eating and body image healing. So you are there to support them in their recovery from diet culture. Your job as an intuitive eating coach is to guide your client on the path of becoming an intuitive eater by listening to their concern and helping them problem solving. Now, we spoke in episode 1 about how the human relationship to food is by far more complex than just simple food choices. So if you haven't listened to episode 1, First Do No Harm, I would highly suggest that you go back there. So problem solving and support as an intuitive eating coach is the basis of your practice, instead of simply giving them complex meal plan or protocol, a macro ratio. You are supporting them in developing their own sense of power. And with that come the help and the support you will give them to master their mindset, to shift away from a diet mindset, a restrictive mindset, to a compassionate mindset. The other aspect of your coaching work services is to help your client reconnect with their innate eating cue, which I like to call their internal nutritionist. Because if you're no longer the expert giving out rules to follow, these guidance going to come in from within. So I like to call that the internal nutritionist. So you are going to help them reconnect with these cues so they can live the rest of their life in a very empowered way. You will also support them, and that's a big piece of support, where you're going to help them understand that all foods are good. Like this big aspect of intuitive eating, which is the unconditional permission to eat. And there's a lot of question that comes from client and patient when you get to that point. So you will be that point of reference that will be coaching them in a very empowered way. You will, most importantly, teach your client, support your client, coach your client to become compassionate with themselves. You will help them build resilience and emotional intelligence, and you will help them learn to process emotion without the use of food. Now, what is the outcome of all this work, right? So when a client hires you to work with them, you're going to teach them those 10 intuitive eating principles. You're going to coach them on mindset, emotional intelligence, and what will happen at the end. You see, as your client build trust and respect with that innate body wisdom, and they're deconstructing their diet mindset, you will also help them reconnect with their innate worth as a woman. And that's when you also need to include in your practice body image work, where you move from shame towards neutrality with your client. That comes towards the end, but also the most important piece at the end. All important. I'm saying most important, but self-care, right? So towards the end, as the mindset around diet culture restriction has been shifted, they're giving themselves permission to eat, unconditional acceptance of their body, then the weight neutral health approach comes into play. That's when you can start talking back to health and gentle nutrition has your client or your patient has shifted their perspective on food and body. Now, being an effective intuitive eating coach requires you to be an intuitive eater first and a consistent ability to grow and learn from your client. Yes, you do require intuitive eating professional skills, but you also do require an ability to coach mindset, to coach emotion, and also behavior modification skill sets. And that combination will be what you build a business around. All those elements where you will be able to support your client in their journey of intuitive eating. Now, when we talk about business, one of the topics that many people don't want to talk about, but we really can't avoid talking about, is this whole concept of making money, right? Making money as an intuitive eating expert, a coach, a nutritionist, a health coach, whatever your professional designation is. Many people are uncomfortable with the topic of money, of selling, right? And I'm here to say it's okay for you to exchange your professional services for money. It's okay for you to want to be successful with your non-diet health practice. It's okay for you to monetize your intuitive eating professional skill set. Why? Here's why. Ready for this one? The more revenue you create for yourself as a professional, the more people you are freeing from diet culture. When you sell your services as a diet culture recovery coaching practice, the more revenue and money you create for yourself equals a greater number of people out of diet culture. This is why making money is absolutely a wonderful thing. The more money you make, the more people have their life transform. Now, how you monetize your service and your product do matter. You can build your business in a very masculine, patriarchal way, or you can choose to embrace your female energy, your feminine energy that will result in empowering your client. This is what I call serving instead of selling. Serving means engaging with your client without expectation. You offer value. You create free content like this podcast episode. You teach your audience on social media the very basic of intuitive eating. You help them move away from their fears. You provide them with free resource and the whole world. You become a resource helping people break down their own barrier. And then you guide them to the next level of resource available. And that comes with a price. The opposite of serving is when you hard sell. You have this aggressive mentality to close people, to sell, and not provide any services. Just move people in a state of purchase. When you are focused on selling instead of serving, you create free resources that disempower people, that keep them in their state of fear. Fear is the opposite of empowerment. And you lead them to believe by selling from a state of fear that the only way for them to resolve their problem is by buying your product. Again, shifting the power back to you as the quote expert. Serving is based in love. Selling is based in fear. However, serving leads to selling without selling. You see, that's where the magic is at. You provide free resources for people who can't afford to work with you one-on-one, and those that can then can move up the ladder and select to work with you one-on-one, in a group, whatever format your product resides in. Now, one of the things we have to understand is when we shift to a non-diet business model, we shift to what we call mostly private care. Meaning an out-of-pocket expense. And now I fully realize that we have different countries listening to this, so each one of you has a different model of healthcare. But at this point in time, most countries do not cover non-diet model of care, and most insurance services do not cover intuitive eating services either. So you are moving to an audience that has to pay out of pocket. This is why the serving model is so brilliant, because you are providing free resources for those who can't afford to work with you, yet those who can then elect to move up the ladder with you. Now, this is where most intuitive eating businesses are entrepreneurial businesses, meaning that the practitioner who decide to do this model of care does need to run their own business. At this point in time in 2020, most practitioners will work for themselves. Or a very small segment will work for someone else like me who has a larger business. But 90% of the case, you'll work on your own. So you will have to gain business skill sets as well. And this is where it gets scary, because that is not what we've been trained for. We've been going to school to learn about health and chemistry and biochemistry and biology and nutrition and health, but we've never learned business. We've never learned to be an entrepreneurial person. I know. None of our certification prepared us for that, but that is the reality of the non-diet model of care. This is why I created the Going to Beyond the Food non-diet mentorship program, because if we together as professional intuitive eating professional and non-diet professional want to be successful in dismantling diet culture, we must operate successful businesses. Otherwise, we will have no choice but to go back to our basic professional training and go and deliver diet, culture, nutrition, and health advice. And if you're listening to this and you're not a professional, you're just one of my regular listeners, you're like, what the heck, I'm going to listen to this. This is why you need to support health professionals who decide to dismantle diet culture, because we need an income. Just like you work professionally for the job you're doing or the career you're having, this is our career, this is our job. And if we are not successful in creating revenue, we will be out of work and have to go back to supporting diet culture in our former graduation, certification, or work. So I wanted to explain to you what is the first step in ensuring that you operate a successful non-diet business. Now, pause here for a minute for all of you to know. You're like, who is she to teach that? Because she's just like me, right? She's a health professional. Well, it's my second career. Like, I'm 45 years old. I had a 15-year career in the business world. I was a vice president of a large retail operation in Canada, the largest operation in Canada, and my company got bought out by American. So if you're Canadian, you know who I'm talking about. If you're not, we've been bought by Target. So I'll leave it at that. Enough to say that since this is my second career, I have 15 years of business in my back pocket. And that's why I think I can help a lot of you. I created many successful business, but in my health career, I had a clinic in Toronto that I closed and then started the Going to Beyond the Food business, which is very successful. Why? Not because I'm special, just because I've got a large, extensive knowledge in business that most health practitioners don't. So on pause, unquote, let's go back to what is the first step to start an intuitive eating non-diet business? The first place to start is a strategy. And I can tell you from having consulted over the last 10 years on many people's health practices, that's never done. People just leave school and then stumble upon the first job they have, or they try to build a business and no strategy is there. So a strategy will allow you to identify the pillar of your business, the why, the what, the who, the where, the when, and the how much. Now, the way that I approach business strategy is completely different. I don't talk about the what, which is what 99% of business strategy focus on. What are you going to do? My first one, as you notice, is the why. Why are you wanting to build a business? Why are you wanting to teach non-diet? And why will this business support your inspiration lifestyle, the way you want to live your life? When we build a business, instead of working with someone else, we're in that special place when we can create the work that we want to do, the time we want to work at, the days we want to work, the type of work we want to do. But for many, we miss that big important step of lining this up with the type of life we want to live. So for me, the why is the first layer of the strategy. Then we move back to a traditional model or traditional strategy model. Now, non-diet business coaching, which is what I just did with you, right? I coached you on the business aspect of a non-diet health model, is different from a traditional business coaching health model, in which our client, our ideal client, are mostly women at this point that have been traumatized by diet culture. There's a deep sense of lack of trust. They don't trust health practitioner because they've been, quote, ripped off for years. And when I first started my business, my clinical practice, my clinic in Toronto, I didn't understand that, right? And it led me to spin my wheels a lot because I was hiring business coaches, which, by the way, for people who wonder how I got where I am, yeah, I have 15 years of business, but I also invested heavily in my business, right? Just to give you an example, before even graduating from nutrition school, 2 months before the end of my degree, I actually hired a experienced nutrition business coach to help me set up my clinical practice because I had no idea how to set up a health business. Like I was in the retail business for 15 years, selling clothes and toilet paper. I had no idea how to sell supplements and services. So I hired her and she came in and helped me set up my business. Then it went on every year for the last 10 years. I've worked with some format of business coach, of mentorship program, of mastermind, or purchase online courses, specifically in the world of online business, to know how to do this, right? And that's what I call the business coaching. My advice to you, if you're going down this path, make sure that the coach you're hiring understand the non-diet business, because I spent a lot of money and wasted a lot of time trying to replicate the traditional health marketing technique into my world, and it wasn't working. So there is a specificity to business coaching in a non-diet world, just like there is between what I used to do, retail and health, right? Yes, you understand the fundamental of business, but the way you apply it is different. Now, that leads me to The program that I have, the non-diet mentorship program, is the space where you can receive business guidance that's specific to non-diet model of care, but also specialize your intuitive eating skill set, specifically for those who have learned through their own experience, but never actually took professional training. This is a great space for you because it's geared to refine both professional and business skill. It is designed to help you develop yourself and your skill set as a powerful leader, and in return to help other women come back to their own power. You learn to harness your ability to support and help other women, and as a result of that, you can impact hundreds and thousands of other women to dismantle diet culture for themselves. I believe that it is the only way for us as a group, as a collective of women, to be able to end diet culture and the oppression that we experience as women in diet culture. By us as women teaching to other women intuitive eating, body neutrality, empowering mindset, self-compassion, and self-care. This is a woman issue that must be resolved by women. As women, we have to step up and change the future of our young generation of girl. We need to teach them that they aren't defined by their body, because diet culture will not teach them that. The liberation of the upcoming generation, your daughters, my nieces, will come through our own generation liberation from diet culture and patriarchy. And the people that can do that are women who can lead other women in this path. We need, as expert health pros, people that have a desire to help other women, to first empower ourselves to do this work so we can then help others. Unfortunately, currently the traditional model of nutrition, of coaching, and even of healthcare is not set up for us to dismantle diet culture. It's actually entrenched in diet culture. Most of the wellness industry is also deeply entrenched in diet culture. Even the alternative health industry claimed to be about root cause, but actually never look at the reason why women engage with food and body in a certain way. My goal with the non-diet mentorship program is to empower women, to empower other women, for you to be the best intuitive eating professional, and also to build successful business that can help hundreds and thousands of other women. And that's what the intuitive eating business is all about. My job, with my 15 years of business experience, plus the last 10 years in the model of health, is to pass on my skill set that I gain in that world into you and help you be even more successful than me, because that means that you've helped more women. If you're interested with this program, feel free to go to the show note and click to find out. So there you have it, ladies. The next episode will be about professional skill set this time. We're going to talk about diet brain and why that's the first place we need to start with our clients and patients when we adopt a non-diet model of care. I love you, my dear colleague, my sister, and I look forward to hang out with you on the next episode so we can together liberate more women from diet culture. Ready to shed diet culture from your practice and help more clients do the same? Awesome. We've got 3 resources to get you started. Simply go to stephaniedodier.com/pro series, all in one word, and access our 3 free training classes that are currently available. We also have a free PDF guide to intuitive eating, an article about the non-diet approach. We also offer a variety of paid programs throughout the year to support you in your journey to undiet your coaching practice. Join us at stephaniedode.com/pro series, and I'll see you on the other side.